Alright, so let's go over day three's questions real quick for the decimal unit. So day three is mainly about applying order of operations to everything we just learned about decimals. And there's only 4 questions, so this shouldn't take too much time. So let's start with number 1. Alright, so number 1 we have this monstrous problem going on. Okay, and so we have to remember our order of operations. PEMDAS, okay? So first I go to the parentheses, okay, and as we can see in this very first parentheses, I have more than one operation going on, so I need to look at which operation should be done first, and it should be the multiplication. So I have a -2 times a -4.6. 2 negatives in multiplication make a positive. And then I just have to multiply the numbers, and I'm going to have one decimal place when I'm done. So 2 times 6 is 12, carrying my 1. 2 times 4 is 8, plus 1 is 9. Need one decimal place. And like I said, it's a positive number, so I need to put my positive in there because I still have operations going on. I only don't have to put the signs, a positive sign, if there are no operations going on still. Alright, so the next thing I do is add. So I'm just going to sidebar over here and add my 2 fractions real quick. And I get 10.6. Alright, in this one, all I have is addition. So I don't have to have that conversation which operation comes first. There's only one operation. So if I add these two, I'll just sidebar it. I'm going to get 8. Okay, so 0.8. The first number always goes inside of the decimal hat, but the first thing I need to do is make these whole numbers. So I'm going to move this one place, which means I have to move this one place, and I'm actually dividing these 2 decimals. Okay, so I'm going to put 106 inside the hat and 8 on the outside. And when I divide that through, 8 will go into 10 one time with 2 left over. Drop down my 6. 8 will go into 26 3 times, which is 24. That'll give me 2. 8 will not go into 2, so this is where I put my decimal point. And after I put a decimal point, I can put as many zeros as I choose on the end of my number. 8 does go into 20. It can go into 20 2 times, which is 16. Gives me a 4. Can drop another 0 down because I'm on the right side of the decimal. And 8 goes into 40 5 times. So my answer is going to be 13.25. Don't worry about a sign here because they're both positive, so I know my answer will stay positive. Okay, so in number 2 I have 4.1 minus 3.2 times 0.40. Got to do our order of operations to every single problem. So my multiplication goes first. I'm going to sidebar and do my multiplication. I do not need the decimal points. I just need to know how many decimal points there's going to be. There's one in this number and there's one in this number. I don't have to take care, I don't need leading or post zeros on the decimal, so I don't need that ending 0 on the decimal. So I only have 2 decimal places. And I'm just going to take the numbers of the second one, which is 4. So 4 times 2 is 8. 4 times 3 is 12. Move the decimal point 2 places because I have 2 decimal places, and I get a 1.28. Now you could look at this number as a negative, and in that case it would be a negative 1.28, but remember I said negative and subtraction signs are the same, so if you look at it as a subtraction, it's not going to change anything. Either way, you're going to have this problem going on. Alright, so now I'm down to subtraction. So I'm going to sidebar and do my subtraction over here. Remember, I got to fill in missing place values. 8 cannot take away from 0, so I'm going to borrow. 8 can take away from 10, and it's 2. 2 can't take away from 0, so I'm going to borrow 1 from the 4. And 2 can take away from 10, and that is going to be 8. 1 can take away from 3, and that's going to be 2. The bigger number is positive, so I remain positive. Alright, now let's go on to number 3. And it looks like in the question I forgot a parenthesis. Alright, so this should be multiplication. Alright, and if I fixed it, that means I've updated since I've made this video. Alright, so I find it easier if you just work one and then the other. So I'm going to change my colors to keep it a little bit more, just easier to read. And we're just going to work the top first. So the first thing I have is this multiplication. Okay, so anytime I multiply something by 100, it moves the decimal place 2 places to the right. One is positive, one is negative, so it is going to be a -1. Alright, so now I got to subtract these two numbers. The signs are different, so I know I'm subtracting. 7.3 is bigger than 2.5, so it's going to be a negative answer. Alright, so it's going to be 4.8, sorry, and that is going to be negative. So now I have multiplication as my last step. 2 negatives make a positive. 1 times anything is the other number. So I know my top is going to be 4.8. Alright, so let's do the bottom now. Yes, that's how it is. So the bottom is 2.1 times a negative 3.4. Okay, remember when I multiply, I can just take the numbers, but I know I'm going to have 2 in my answer, 2 decimal places. 4 times 1 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. Put a 0, so I'm directly below the 3. 3 times 1 is 3. 3 times 2 is 6. Again, I have 2 decimal points, so it's going to be 7.14. Now this number is negative and this number is positive, so my answer is going to be a negative. Alright, so I've done all that and I'm still not done the problem. I'm going to have to erase a little bit in order to keep going with this problem, and we are going to actually do the division now. Remember, a fraction bar means division. The number on the top goes inside the hat. The number on the bottom will go outside. Alright, so it's going to start out like this. Okay, but we know we don't need that negative right yet. Okay, and we also know we don't need decimals. Alright, so I moved the decimal in 7.14 over 2 places, so I have to do it here too. Alright, so 714 cannot go into 480, so that can go in 0 times. Then I can put my decimal. After I put a decimal, I can put as many zeros as I want. Now this number is 4,800, and this one's not even 1,000, okay? So I'm going to round these to 4,000 and 1,000, and I'm going to say that 714 can go in there 4 times. I could be wrong, And that is okay if I'm wrong, okay? I can always just go back and change it, but it's really good to make an estimate first. All right, that is clearly too low. So then I look at my numbers and I say, maybe I didn't estimate in the best way. So now I'm going to say 48, okay? And this is going to go to my example of you take the place value of the outside number and that's what you round to. So this number is in the hundreds place. So I'm going to look at the hundred place here. And I'm going to go on. So I'm going to look at 7 and 48. Well, 7 can go into 48 so that we have the same place value that we're rounding to. Okay, 7 can go into 48. Oh, let's see. 42 would be 7 times 7. 56 is 8, so it would have to be the 7 times 7, which is 42. Okay, so that's going to be my estimate. Let's do the actual math. So 7 times 4 is 28. 7 times 1 is 7, plus 2 more is 9. 7 times 7, as I said, is 42. All right, so I'm going to have to do some borrowing here. Okay, so I'm going to make that a 9 and that a 10. Did a lot of borrowing in that one. I can get you some YouTube videos if you need them on that. Okay, so I'm on the right side of the decimal, so I can add as many zeros as I want. So again, I'm looking at the 7 and I'm looking at the 50. Okay, how many times can 7 go in the 50? And I'm going to say it's we probably can't go up to 56. Okay, I'm going to say that with pretty much certainty. So I'm going to say it's 7 again. Let's see if I am right. I can always go back and do it again if I'm not right. So that is going to give me 2. That is going to give me 2. And that is going to give me 7. And I was wrong. Oh no. So what do? Well, you don't have to go back and erase everything. I know I need one more. Okay, so I can make that an 8 and just subtract one more of these. Remember, it's just repetitive addition, so I've already added 7 together to get the 4,298, and one more. I just need to take away one more from it. So I'm going to have to do this over here because I've lost room. Alright, so it's 08. Alright, and you can stop there. I think I even say round to the nearest hundreds. The next one is not going to bring me up to the next value, so I can stop there. But I have to say positive, negative. My answer is going to be negative 78.78. Alright, let's do the last problem. I forgot another parenthesis. My goodness, I hope I fix that before it gets out anymore. So I have to do what's in the parentheses first. There's only one operation, so I can go ahead sidebar and do that. So 2.4 plus my 6.2, that's going to give me 6, 8.6. Got to do my next parenthesis. It is a negative over here and a positive over here, so I'm going to subtract those two numbers. Different signs I subtract. And the bigger sign is positive, so I'm going to have a positive 4.3. Okay, very good, very good. We're moving along good. So the next thing in my PEMDAS is going to be to multiply these two. Remember, I do not need decimals, okay? But I do need to count how many decimal places I need, which is 1. So I'm going to put a 1 up here. And I don't need to worry about the signs yet. Just multiply my two numbers. That's going to give me 16, 17. And then I have to put my 1 decimal point back in. So I have a 17.2. Positive number, negative number. My answer is negative. All right, last step is to do my adding and subtracting. So negative 17.2 subtract 4.3. Signs are the same. That means I actually add the two numbers. And it's going to be negative since they're both negative. So I get a negative 21.5 is my final answer. If you have any problems with any of these problems or any of them from any day, just snap a picture of what you're trying to do, send it to me, and I will do my best to help you out. Other than that, I'll see you in class next.